Good Saturday, people. This is the Underdawgs podcast, first audio episode, season 3, episode 16, Behind the Lens, with owner of Rythmic Images Photography, featuring Atlanta, Philadelphia-based award-winning photographer Carolyn Grady. Hope you all are enjoying your wonderful Saturday. As always, we're here to enlighten, inform, and inspire our people. We like to give our people our flowers on this platform. But yeah, we're gonna get right to it. Gonna do a warm-up podcast. How you doing, Miss Carolyn?
I'm doing well, thank you.
Good. How you enjoying your wonderful Saturday?
I'm having a good Saturday. The weather's getting a little warmer, but
Oh
not as
yeah,
warm as my recent travels, but
yeah. Back to the Atlanta weather. One day it's hot, then it's cold, and it's cold and it's hot.
Yes.
So it's definitely an honor to have you as a guest on our platform to give your flowers as we push the importance of self-awareness. In 30 seconds, who is Carolyn Grady as a person outside of her profession?
Wow, that's a very big question. Um, I would say that I'm a I would say, passionate person. I absolutely love the arts. I grew up enjoying the arts, and I'm from Philadelphia, which is a very cultural city in itself. But in high school, we had opportunities to travel to different cities to see cultural performances, whether it was a play or a concert and things like that. So I've always loved the arts. I love to share what I know with others, whenever possible. Um,
Yeah, I
let's
like
see.
that. That's definitely big. I always I feel like sharing knowledge is important. I feel like it'll be selfish to keep something that can help or benefit someone else the same way, it helped you out.
Right.
But yeah, before we get into your journey, first off, welcome back to the States. Like, how was your visit to Cuba? Like, how was the scenery?
It was absolutely wonderful. We had a wonderful time. I was there visiting with a group called IAP. It's a photography retreat,
Okay.
and there were a total of 8 of us. And we also, a part of the trip was to, I guess, give to the Cuban people things such as toiletries, the basic necessities. So
Right.
we all donated items. A very vibrant city. They expressed quite a bit of love for Americans as well, which is interesting. We felt very welcomed. They were calling us family, touching their
Right.
skin and saying, welcome, almost like we are the same, in terms
Right.
of, our cultural background, in terms of, our origins. But it was
Right.
really nice. We went to another city called Vinales. So we were in Havana initially, but we went to Vinales, which is the countryside, which was the total opposite. And I went horseback riding for the first time. So,
That's nice.
yeah.
I like how you said that as well, as the people were welcoming and, like making you feel like welcome and treating you like family. Like,
Yes.
I feel like the complexion of melanin is everywhere, and I feel like they kind of know, in a way, like
Exactly.
melanin is all over the globe,
Yes.
and
And it was
I,
also mentioned on a couple of our tours about, just African origins and Afro-Cuban religions and things like that. So, yeah, it was
right.
good. So,
So being a photographer, when you're traveling to these different destinations, does that feed your creativity and inspire more ideas?
yes, it does. It just, what I love to do is show the beauty of the people anywhere that I go. Even here
Right.
in the States, whenever I do like portraiture or I'm shooting in my studio and things like that, that's always my goal, to show how beautiful we are as a people, pretty
Yeah.
much, to put it simply. So when I travel to these places, I also like to document the different cultural practices and some of the spiritual or religious practices as well, and just everyday people doing what they normally do, because I
Right.
don't feel like there's enough of that being done to, you know, to show. That's
Right.
yeah.
Yeah, I like how you said that, capturing those moments, because like a lot of people that may not experience the travel, through your pictures, it tells a lot of kind of what's going on.
Yeah.
Kind of paint the picture for them.
Yes, and also I hope that it will encourage others to travel as well and not
Right.
be afraid of, just the people because what's being, put out there in the media, so to speak. But yeah, so it's always a great experience. My previous trip to Havana was to Bali, Indonesia. So that was a wonderful trip as well. So
Yeah, I heard Bali's beautiful.
yes.
So being that you're an international traveler, like how many countries have you visited? And like you said, like the importance of people seeing the world, like, what's your perspective then also like being outside of the states when you go to these different countries?
I've actually traveled. I haven't never counted how many countries I've been to. Initially, I went on cruises, so you
Right.
stop at different ports and things like that. But as far as flying over internationally, I would say Jamaica. I've been to Bali. I've been to
Yeah.
Colombia. Cartagena is
Nice.
absolutely beautiful as well, and I got that same feeling and vibe from people calling us family and
Right.
telling us how beautiful we were, and it was just wonderful. I see Mexico, went to Riviera Maya, Mexico, last year as well. And actually, I have an upcoming trip. I'm going to Ghana in March.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah, Ghana's gonna be an experience. I've been hearing a lot about Ghana.
Yes.
Um, so let's start from the beginning. You were saying you were from Philly. So like what was it like growing up in that city from your perspective?
I enjoyed growing up in Philly. I was always, I guess, into the books. So I enjoyed, studying, going to the library, doing homework and things like that. So,
Right.
just educating myself as much as possible outside of school also was important to me, to learn as much as I could about whatever it is that I was interested in. I participated in a program called the Motivation Program, and I grew up in North Philadelphia. And the program allowed us the opportunity, as I mentioned earlier, to participate in a lot of different activities that we might not have normally been able to, or exposed to. So that was a wonderful thing. And as a matter of fact, I actually graduated valedictorian of my high school, and I was granted a full academic scholarship to Temple University. So I graduated with a degree and a bachelor's degree in business administration. So
Okay.
I guess, doing well in school, paid off for me in terms of education. So
Yeah, that's used. That's black excellence, being a woman of color.
yeah.
Um, so yeah, automatically when I think of Philly, I automatically think of the Fresh Prince. Like, just the theme song just pops in my head.
and
Um,
and even like culture, like the Patti LaBelle and just all the artists and musicians who are from there. Just
right.
growing up listening to them, the Roots, of course, my favorite hip
Oh
hop group
yeah.
of all times. It was just a wonderful. I mean, I just enjoyed it. Yeah, whatever opportunity I had to participate in an artistic endeavor, I did. So.
Okay, so for those who may not have visited before, including myself, what are some of your favorite places to either spend time or grab a bite to eat?
Well, in terms of spending time, when I go back there now, I spend a lot of time with family.
Right.
Um, and most recently, I went back for my work was featured in Art Beats and Lyrics, which I can talk about later as well. But it's a national art and music tour. So
Right.
I featured a photo of Jill Scott that I had captured here in Atlanta during one music fest. And what was cool about it for me was that it was printed on metal, like a sheet of metal, which
Oh wow.
when you see it, it's really dope. But and actually someone purchased it, which was cool also,
That's nice.
but that's not always my goal. I always love to share the work and hopefully bring people back into that moment, So.
Right. So who would you say supported you early on? What gave you inspiration to mold you into the person you are today?
I would say my parents, my mother. Lucinda and my father Charles, for sure, for always encouraging me to do well in school and to be the best person that I can be. In terms of in the community, there's a sister named Sakai Afua. She is a cultural leader and she's a poet. She's also an actress, but
Oh,
she had an event, a festival called the Celebration of Life Festival. So that incorporated all aspects of the arts. And when I was at Temple University, I was doing work study
right,
and I worked in the African American Studies department. And she was like the secretary or the head of that department. So she was like a mentor to me, you know. And also a teacher of mine, Miss Patricia Stevens. She had always been a motivating factor for me as well while in school. And she was a Delta in that, you know, I didn't pledge Delta as a Delta, but it
right.
just seeing that community that they had and some of the opportunities that she shared with me. And we're in touch with each other till this day. So,
That's good. So before we jump into the photography, I have to ask you, how much of an influence does hip hop or music have, on your business?
wow. In terms of my business, I think, well, let me just start by saying that hip hop is the music I grew up listening to, and it has always resonated with me.
Right,
It's like today when people see me, they probably like are surprised because I feel like I'm such a laid back, you know, behind
right,
the scenes person. They're like, "Wow, you that into hip hop?" But I am because I could always appreciate the creativity that went into it, and I always understood that there's so much that goes into the art. You know,
right,
with the lyricism, the production, the just everything, the visuals, all of that. So um, it made me want to continue to take pictures of live performances of my favorite artists. So whenever someone came to town,
right,
I would try to be there, like try to gain access however possible, not however possible, but whenever possible by reaching out to either the artist, their promoter, or the publicist. So, but it's just music that I can always appreciate.
now, most definitely. Pop is definitely been a has made an impact on my life as well. One of my artists I consider icon. I wouldn't even say legend, but it would be Tupac Shakur.
Okay.
Um, a lot of a lot of messages in this music kind of resonates today's time, and just a lot of kind of positive influence in his messages as well. For the Black community.
Okay.
Um, but I also say that being I've noticed that you have a portfolio of moments captured with some hip hop legends. With that being said, who would be in your top 5 artists individually, and what about their music sets the bar for
Wow. I don't know that I
you?
ever, you know, relegated to a top five, but
Right,
I love lyricists. I love lyricism,
right,
and hip hop artists who are, you know, have a certain lyrical flow.
right.
Black Thought is I would say my favorite. I also enjoy Pharaoh Monch as well. You know, Wise Intelligent, Rakim. You
Yeah,
know, just like I said, that lyrical flow over the beats and just what they're saying as well makes a difference to me. So,
right. Yeah, New York definitely like Wu-Tang, like definitely is one of my favorites. Just as a collaboration too, like as many as they are in a group together, they all have their own individual sound, and it's just like when it comes together, it's amazing.
that is true.
Um, so when it comes to music, when you hear the lyrics layered on top, does the frequency the sound does, like, does that give like a level of creativity when you're listening to like the storytelling and the type of the songs or anything? Does it like help boost your creativity somewhat?
I would say that it does, and especially when I see the artist performing live, because there's certain parts of the song
Right,
where I know that there's going to be maybe a certain expression or a certain, you know, gesture that they're going to do. So I do my
right,
best to try to capture that moment,
right,
and it's just so dope to be. have my timing on, so to speak, meaning like whenever that happens, I'm able to get it. And
Right.
it's interesting because I can tell when my timing is off, and I had to just turn the camera off, kind of shake my hands in the air and just go at it again. But there's
Right.
certain points within a song that I'm like, yes, I know what, I have a feeling about what's about to happen. So yeah, it's pretty cool.
Yeah, I definitely feel like that's a lot of rhythm, in a
Yes.
sense, in a way, just like an artist to catch the beat, to actually
Yes.
hear when it's coming back. Like it's almost like it's kind of like an instinct type of feeling,
It
like
really
another
is.
sense. So around what time period did photography start to dawn on you?
Wow, that's a good question. The first concert I shot was Most Def, and gosh, when was that concert? It was at the Tabernacle, and some years ago. But the thing is, I didn't even have the camera gear that I have now. I had a point and
Right.
shoot Olympus camera. It just had a very big zoom. So I was
Mhm.
able to capture just like him on stage from being in the audience. And from those photos, it made me want to continue.
Right.
There's actually a photo that I captured of him, and I actually cut the top of his head off. And this is how this photo is shot. But it's a
Right.
side profile shot, and everyone who sees that picture knows exactly who it is. So when that
Right.
happens, it's like, wow, that was pretty dope. I wasn't going to share it. I was like, I have to cut his head off, and
Right.
but when people see it, like, yeah, they love it. So
Yeah, it's almost like they look at it kind of like a how would you say, a portrait or something like that. Like when you walk in the
yeah,
museum, it's like they still can tell the artistic expression, or they still like it, and
and
it's like I really cut his head off though,
right.
like, but
And
they
what
still find a way to appreciate the work.
you're right, because he had that mic, that signature mic that he had, the old school
Right,
mic in his hand, and then you could see the veins in his arms, as a matter of fact. It was that dope a shot, It was, yeah.
right,
So I'm pretty proud of it as being one of my first ones. But I feel like my work has definitely come a long way since then, learning new techniques and getting
right.
some other photography gear. So
So would you, when you did you know that you would, turn your craft to a professional? Was it just a hobby at first, like something you like to do?
it really was something that I enjoyed doing, and I wanted to, like I said, continue keep doing it as much as possible to get as good at it as I could.
Right.
Um, pretty good. One is called Hip Hop in Focus, and the other is called Music in Focus, which incorporates all genres of music. And I've actually exhibited those works also.
So, what was I gonna say? So when you first picked up a camera early on, what would you do to learn these new techniques over time?
Wow, actually, I practiced. I'm self-taught. Um, Especially initially. Like now, I'll watch podcasts and YouTube videos as well.
Right.
And I actually teach lessons myself, like the basics of photography at our studio. Um, but initially, I would try to, whatever opportunity there was, I would try to take as many pictures as possible. I also, one other aspect of me in the arts is that I have a company called Rhythm of Life Entertainment. And what
Okay.
that would incorporate was live performances by artists, whether they were poets, musicians. So I would pretty much coordinate and promote the shows like an open mic type of a
Right.
deal, have live bands come out. Some are HBO Deaf Poets and, BET Lyric Cafe artists, as well as, just friends who happen to perform as well. So I would take pictures of those artists, and that helped me to kind of get into the live performance photography aspect, and wanting to go to concerts and start capturing those images as well.
Right. That when you just described the events you used to promote, that kind of remind me of a place in Atlanta called Apache Cafe. I don't know if
Yes.
it's still going right now, but it was kind of similar to, how you
Hmm.
described your events. Like they
Yeah.
had live bands, poetry, spoken
Art,
word.
all of that.
Yeah.
Yeah. And actually, they are still, but they moved to a different location. So,
Oh,
but they're
okay.
still doing their thing as well.
Um So while learning the angles, the focus, etc., before taking pictures of people, like what did you use as practice, or did you just start off with people first?
Well, I used to take pictures when I would travel to cities like New Orleans or when I go to Florida, Ybor City. Um, and when I came back and shared those pictures, people wanted to purchase them, like at the waterfront in New Orleans, the river boats and things like that. So I guess you could say I started off by taking pictures, travel pictures, or pictures of objects, so to speak. And the I guess enthusiasm that people showed toward those pictures, and it just made me want to continue. And like I said, have loving music and live performances. That's what I ended up moving into. So,
Right. So as you progressed over time, what ways would you continue to improve your skills taking photos?
well, actually, I there is um, let's see, a website called creativelive.com. That's the website, but it's been a wonderful source of information. They actually have live photo shoots on sets, and they're showing you how to set the lighting, different angles to shoot from, how to shoot with just available light. So you don't even have to have studio strobes, and things like that. So that's been a wonderful source for me to learn how to do some techniques that I didn't know about. Um,
Right.
and like I said, YouTube has been a wonderful source as well. There was,
Definitely.
and I was gonna say, there was a trade show recently called PPA. It was held in Nashville this year, but it's professional photographers of Atlanta, not of Atlanta, but professional photographers of America.
Right.
And that's a wonderful trade show. Unfortunately, I couldn't go this year because I was in Havana. But you have like companies like Canon, Nikon, Sony, everybody's there to show you the latest gear and certain, they'll demonstrate certain photography techniques and things like that. So that's a wonderful way to get to meet people as well, to network also. So I look forward to
Right.
it next year.
Definitely. When you mention YouTube, YouTube is like it's kind of like anybody can learn a skill. It was years ago before like um where you had to do a lot of self teaching with a lot of programs when YouTube wasn't as popular or you didn't have like a lot of tutorials. But today's time, YouTube is so essential for everything. Like people are
Yes,
sharing information all the time.
yes.
Um, so what most was most of what you learned in photography come from trial and error, or is like self taught, or did you enroll in in classes?
Well, I would say a lot of it is trial and error, so to speak, because or if I have a shoot coming up, like in my studio, for instance, I
Right,
would, try to find out as much as I can in terms of what it will take to get a certain look, and that could include, like you said, YouTube or asking others. I have other photography friends or friends who are photographers, and they are usually very, willing to share information and sometimes even photography equipment if I need it, or I'm willing to share as well. So that's a wonderful way to, learn and
right,
to get together what you need for a shoot. Um, yeah, a good friend of mine, Kim Roseberry, she was actually instrumental in me learning how to shoot in what we call in manual mode instead of automatic mode,
yeah,
which photographers out there might know what that means. But it was key because if I'm shooting concerts, I
right,
can't shoot using my flash.
yeah.
I have to be able to control every.
I'm sorry, it was a slight delay. We're back.
Okay.
Yeah, I do kind of remember. Like during the pandemic, I think Nikon gave out like free classes, like
Um,
I guess to learn.
uh-huh.
Um, yeah, it was definitely like an opportunity, if you wanted to invest, I guess, in the craft of learning it. I actually looked at it too as well. I just got to keep continuing with it. Because I actually did pick up a camera a while back. Uh, but I'm just the type of person that like to do multiple things. So
Okay.
um, yeah, I gotta kind of put more time into it, kind of learning it. So when you mentioned like manual versus auto, it's like you said, if you're capturing like instant moments, like using the flash will probably delay and you might miss that opportunity.
And you
But
know what?
I was gonna say, I kind of think when you said manual and automatics, like manual, you just have more full control. Like that's the first thing that pops in my head when you
Yes.
say that.
And that is true. And in concerts, for instance, there's a saying called three songs, no flash, meaning, you get the first three songs of an artist's set, and then you have to
Right,
get out of the pit, but you cannot use your flash. So to compensate for not being able to use your flash, you have to know how to dial certain, make certain settings where they need to be. Otherwise, you've missed your opportunity. So,
right,
but yeah, it's cool because that's the worst thing ever is to be using your flash and be tapped on the shoulder and told to,
right.
I did have that happen one time, but so
Yeah, it sounds like it's just a part of the process. Um,
yes.
so the transition from Philly to Atlanta, what year was that? And what gave you that leap of faith, leaving your city out of all places, why Atlanta as well?
Well, I mean, I guess that's a pretty short story, but I
Okay.
graduated from Temple in 92 and I married someone who was from here. So we
Right.
decided to move down. The thing is, I had visited the area. It was like one Thanksgiving, and the weather was like 75, 80 degrees. And I was like, and it was sunny. I was like, look at
Hmm.
this. This is wonderful. So the weather was, definitely part of the reason why I wanted to move down. But yeah, I've been here ever since 92. So,
Yeah. Nah, I definitely when you said the weather, because I mean I can handle this right now, but being like I spent time out Midwest, like that winter time is brutal. Like
yes.
I don't think I could really, adapt to living in that type of weather. But um what kept you motivated throughout the learning process, that kept you going as well?
Very good question. I feel like I always want to see what else I can achieve through my photography.
Okay.
Um, yeah, it definitely my photography has come a long way because when I look back at some of the work I did years ago, it's like, wow. But just being able to see people's reaction to the work and
Right.
hear just the response that they have to it. Like when I have a client and we come in for a business branding, she comes in for a business branding shoot, and then the pictures are being used multiple different times in different ways. I love to see that. Um, but in terms of the concert work, I just love to be able to see some of my favorite artists and just
Right.
capture those moments and pretty much preserve those moments in time. So
Definitely. Yeah, because I feel like photography is photos in general, is the importance of it. Like it definitely it shapes a lot of people's lives in a way. Um Without photos, it's just the thought of not having photos or not being able to catch a
yes,
moments, like, you know.
that's true. That is true.
Um so how has networking been thus far with your business? And how long have you been established thus far?
I would say, as far as networking, I have had some very good opportunities to network. Um, I've been invited to participate in a lot of different exhibitions or even opportunities to different projects. Fulton County Arts and Culture puts a
Yeah.
lot of opportunities out there, but you know, who else? The city of Atlanta. There was a project I was invited to be a part of called Pandemic 2020, which was
Oh
pretty
yeah.
cool. They hired photographers and writers as well to document. And the pictures were actually hung in the city of Atlanta mayor's office.
Oh wow.
There was a specific, and it was what is it, like a newspaper with all of the poets who wrote poems and the writers who wrote, short stories, and our images were all in that particular, newspaper. And it was part of Elevate Atlanta, as a matter of fact. So Yeah, just I think knowing and I guess proving yourself to certain people is what's important.
Right.
You know, because you if you say you're going to do something, and people have to be able to depend on you for you to be continue to be offered opportunities. So
I like how you said that. And being that our show is the Underdogs podcast, um, like you say, showing, proving yourself to people, in a way like no work goes unnoticed,
yes.
in a way. So when you started polishing your craft, do you remember some of the places you would showcase your work?
Well, actually, I have done a few solo exhibitions. Like the Auburn Avenue Research Library was one of the places that I had a whole solo show with hip hop images, and that was pretty cool. I actually participated in a hip hop festival at Albany State University. So I was hired to, well, hired. I guess they covered, my expenses and gave me per diem and had an open reception for me, but I was able to exhibit my work and do an artist talk as well, which was really cool. I've also exhibited, I had a solo exhibition at the Southwest Arts Center called Music and Focus, which all the pictures were printed on metal. They were all black and white images. Some of the artists included B.B. King,
Oh, that's nice.
Fantasia, yeah, um, Common, who else?
Yeah.
Dwele, just Boys to Men. I mean, Andre 3000. So it was
Uh,
pretty dope. They were, like I said, all black and white images, and it was very well received. So, and another, if I could mention, opportunity that I've had based on relationships and networking was to participate in Art Beats and Lyrics. Art Beats and Lyrics is a national art and music tour. And
mhm.
we had the show here recently in Atlanta a few weeks ago.
And I missed
And
it.
yeah, unfortunately. But they're going to be, I don't know if you travel to other cities, but they were in Miami first. They came to Atlanta. They're going to Oakland, California next. But some of the other cities on the tour are Chicago. They're going to Brooklyn, New York. They're going to back LA, as a matter of fact, and
Right.
oh, New Orleans as well
Oh
during the
yeah.
Essence Music Fest. So that should be cool.
And so so do they kind of like, does your work travel with it, or do they do like different artists in different cities?
Well, actually, my work, our work, I'll say our work because it's a group exhibition. There are artists from
Right.
all over the country whose works is included. So you have different, you have paintings, you have graphic arts, you have photography. But yes, the work does tour to all these cities. They pack it up, put it in a truck, and transport it where it needs to go. And they do invite artists in whatever area, whatever locale they're at, they'll invite a few artists to include work in the show. Like they leave space for that, which is pretty cool. So,
That's nice. Um, what has always been your goal when you turned your craft into a business to serve the people?
wow, my goal is always to, I guess, show people how beautiful they are as a people. And also, I want people to be the face of their brand also. Because I know for myself, I had to start putting pictures of myself out there also, and not just pictures of other people and
Right.
musicians and things, so that people would know the person behind the work. But
Right.
I feel like it is very important to show people who you are and just have some beautiful quality pictures and not just, let's say, selfies in your bathroom and things like that. I just think
Right.
it just helps to showcase what it is that you want to showcase. Um, in terms of the music aspect of it, I just want to share those particular moments with those who weren't present at that time. And it's just interesting to see when people see some of the images, the smile that comes on their face and how they say that that picture made them feel, just by looking at it. So.
Right. So it was a random thought came to my mind, but so far as like how far you've came versus from in the beginning, do you become like, do you have OCD like when you're editing your images, or you want it to be like certain way, it has to be like that?
Actually, I don't feel like I do a lot of editing to my images, especially the music
Uh,
work.
right.
I might. I don't know, for my music and focus exhibition, I would say that some of the backgrounds I might have blacked out, just so
Right,
there's what is it, a consistent look to the work. But
right,
other than that, I don't know that I do for the music images. Some of my portraiture work, some of, edits are required. And I let the client select a certain number of
right,
images. And then if I have to send them out, I do, because there's certain talents that I don't have. um, so yeah, so I don't, especially the music. I feel like the music images are as I caught them or photographed them. And
right.
yeah,
Yeah, I like how you said that. No edits on photos. That's talent. That's talent. Definitely.
I'm trying to think. Like the most deaf picture that I mentioned, I did make that like a sepia tone so that it has a certain effect to it. But other than that, it is
Right.
what it was. So
Um, I mean, most things I feel some things, well, most it depends on what it is, but a lot of things, some stuff, is better off as is. It's usually when you start attention it or altering, it's like, it's not what it was in the beginning.
right, that's true.
Um, yeah. So what keeps you today's time motivated and passionate about what you do?
I would just say just being able to, I guess, continue to document our culture. Whenever I'm afforded
Right.
the opportunity. There have been times when I've, requested access and I was told no. And I was like, okay, well, you
Right.
know, keep it moving. But, I think that the artists who have seen my work, that I've captured, I appreciate their, appreciation for the pictures. Like Chubb Rock, for instance, there was a picture I captured of him and Kwame when they were the alumni performing. I forget where. I think it was a film festival, but he actually, signed one of the images for me. But I kind of gifted him that picture. And Wise Intelligent, he's seen my pictures. Greg Nice from Nice and Smooth, Positive K, a few folks. But it's just seeing that they appreciate what I was able to capture, and the fact that they
Right.
didn't realize I was capturing it. That's that's the best thing ever. You know.
Yeah, the off guards, but then it's like it becomes um somewhat like like you said a memorable moment.
Yes.
Um, so you are preserving these moments, almost like a time capsule with these memorable moments of everyday life. With that being said, what are some of your memorable moments captured throughout your journey?
Oh wow. Oh, there's so many. There's so many. Um,
Right.
I would say photographing BB King in concert. This was
Oh yeah.
probably less than a year before he passed. But what was interesting about that situation is like Live Nation was the promoter for the show. And
Right.
usually if there's a show and I completely missed that he was performing and I did not submit for it. But the
Mm.
Live Nation contact emailed me and said, "You've been approved." And I was
Oh
like,
wow.
so that just let me know I was meant to be there.
Right.
And ironically enough, I know his daughter, Claudette King. She performs as well. She sings the blues, and she lives right in this local area. So, yeah, she came out to my exhibition, Music and Focus, as well, in which that picture was it was actually the lead picture into the show. Like his picture was the very first one, just out of to pay homage.
Oh
So
wow.
yeah, so she came out, and I actually have done portrait work for her in our studio. Did two shoots for her. So
I like to hear that, like just the elevation, from the start to now.
yes.
Definitely a lot of you definitely have a lot of accolades in your artistic resume as well. Um, just a few to share to the people. This is Carolyn Grady, everybody. Award-winning photographer, owner of Rhythmic Images Photography. Um, we got City of Atlanta, Mayor Office of Cultural Affairs, Pandemic Atlanta, which was mentioned earlier. We got solo exhibitions, 3 songs, no flash, Southwest, check icons on the mic in the Auburn Avenue Research Library, microphone hip hop focused Albany State University. Hip hop is Mount Olivet Recreation Center, Philadelphia, and as well as a long list of group exhibitions. Like, with that being said, as well, like, how do you feel with having that long resume of accolades under your belt?
It's been wonderful to be able to share the work with everyone. You know, just to see everyone come out and enjoy the work and sometimes purchase the work as well. It's just sometimes I have exhibitions of my own, or I will participate in a group exhibition. So it's just always wonderful to be able to do that. We also had, I'm a member, can I mention, I'm a member of a group called Sistography, which is the
Uh,
collective of African American women photographers, which is really a cool organization for opportunities to exhibit your work as well. So it's been a wonderful, way for me to get my work out there. We actually had an exhibit at the Atlanta airport before,
oh, that's
which was
nice.
pretty dope, and Hammond's House Museum, so that was pretty cool.
Yeah, it's just a lot of black excellence. How much time would you say you even spent like turning, from being indulging in your hobby as long as you've been, to where you're at now?
Wow, it's been at least, goodness, I never really, I should have calculated by now, but
Time probably
um,
flying by.
wow, maybe 20 years,
Oh yeah, that's
20, 25
dedication.
years, yeah. Yeah.
As people, I like to say, just in general, it's sometimes, we be focused on one thing and then, we'll be on to the next, but just to be determined and dedicated that long, that says a lot, how disciplined you are about what you do, but then also you're still enjoying it and loving what you do.
Yes, for sure. I and even in terms of my portrait work, I have a studio on Ralph David Abernathy, and it's been wonderful. They're a collective of us. There are 7 photographers, and we share the space. But it's been a wonderful opportunity to learn more about portraiture because you're in control of the lighting. You're in controlling of how someone poses. But of course, with music photography and concerts, you can't control anything.
Right.
So, just having that contrast is a good thing. I feel for me, so.
That's good. So what would be a few motivational tips from Carolyn Grady that you would like to give to upcoming driven aspiring photographers?
Well, I would say practice, practice, practice. Whether it's taking pictures of your family members, of your pets, whatever you have available to you. And even in terms of the equipment, or let's see, whatever you're taking pictures with, if you need to start with your phone, then do that. But, I feel like at some point you'll want to, if you're still interested, to move into something that is more digital and up to date, but use what you have, I guess, is another tip, to capture the images. And I would say share your images. You don't necessarily have to post them on social media or online, but share them with those around you and see how they feel about them, see how they make them feel.
Definitely. What can we look forward to upcoming from Rhythmic Images?
Well, I would like to create a photo book of some of my favorite images over the years. So
Right.
that's the project that I plan to start working on. And something else I'd like to do is to put together either a solo or a group exhibition to celebrate or commemorate hip hop's 50th anniversary, which is this year. So that's something else that I'm in the process of working with. I believe that I have a venue at the moment, but just a few other things that I need to get into place.
Sound like definitely some more big memorable moments happening. Definitely. Um, so what is something you manifest for yourself in 2023?
Actually, my photo book.
Yeah,
And then the reason I laugh is because I mean I shouldn't laugh, but it's something I've been considering and thinking about for years now, and I just feel
right,
like now's the time. I should stop talking about it and just do it. You know.
right.
So,
Yeah, I feel like you say, timing is everything though too. But then it's like you kind of feel when it's right though. In the essence, like maybe see this year might be the year to put it out. Versus like from all the stuff you've been capturing over time.
yes, for sure.
Also, while we are speaking of memorable moments and moments captured, I just want to pull up the photos that you were able to forward over as well.
Okay. Yes,
Um,
Chub Rock. Yeah, that's the picture that I mentioned of Kwame and Chub Rock, and he really enjoyed it. So
so what would
special
so
ed.
while you're catching these moments too, like just do a little recap of the actual moment, as we're looking at these pictures as well.
Well, that's me and special ed. They were performing as the alumni, the group, at a film festival. So you know, they stopped by and were able to take a picture with him. So,
That's dope. Hip hop legends. And then we got Common as well. Like,
well,
no, this
actually,
not Common.
right, that's De La Soul. That's De La
Yeah.
Soul. At One Music Fest several years ago, like when they first started One Music Fest, as a matter of fact.
Yeah, it
And I was
definitely.
going to say, the artist who did the graphics around the mat, his name is
Right.
Ricky. So he's a graffiti artist, a b-boy here in Atlanta, and it's so dope how he did it because the textures, like if you were to actually feel that mat, it's
Right.
beautiful. Yeah. So
Yeah, that's nice. Then we got the infamous Slick Rick.
yes. Wow, that was actually a free concert at Opera Club Opera years
Yeah,
ago,
I remember that.
and I was just so glad that the lighting was what it was, and I was right in the right spot to capture that picture.
Yeah, it definitely looked like the dope picture. Okay, yeah, this the one I seen. Okay, we do have this comment right here.
It was the
Um,
mhm. Yeah, that was actually that same One Music Fest show that De La Soul
mhm.
was at. That's where that picture was taken. It was an outdoor venue, like yeah. So it was pretty hot. You can see sweat on the shirt, as a matter of fact, if you see the actual picture.
Yeah.
Oh, that's Kumo D. He came past my studio and we did an interview with him. So yeah,
That's
he
nice.
lives here in Atlanta as well. Yeah, Curtis Blow. That was a show that was
Mhm.
at the Tabernacle, and I was able to have backstage access, and he graciously took that picture with me. Pharoah Monch, and as I mentioned, he's one of my favorite lyricists. What was interesting, this was during A3C, the hip hop festival.
Oh yeah,
And what
yeah.
was funny is that some friends and I were together, and I had just mentioned him, and he comes walking down. He comes walking down the street, and I was like, "Wow!" And because I was referring to that picture, as a matter of fact, that he's holding. So that's my picture of him. Yes, I gifted that to him, but I was like, "Wow!"
Yeah, that's definitely like how you said it too. It just walked right into you right after you spoke it up.
Actually, yeah, that was yeah. Oh, that's Wise Intelligent from Poor Righteous Teachers. He's at our studio at that particular time.
Yeah,
And I presented him with that picture I captured of him. And if you could look in the background of that picture of him, there's Common on the left and then Salt and
yeah,
Pepper on the right. Those are metal prints. Those are the metal
yeah.
prints I was referring to. They're so dope in person. But Wise was actually there at the studio because I did a photo shoot for him. I did one of his album covers. I shot one of his album covers,
Oh,
which
that's
was
nice.
really cool. So, and actually, the subject in the album, the shoot, was his son. His son was dressed as him when he was younger. So he had shell top Adidas on. He had a gold chain around his neck.
Yeah,
He had a Kangol on his. It was so cool. But that ended up being his album cover. So,
that's nice.
oh, that's me and Dwelle at Atlanta City Winery after Dwelle had performed. So that was pretty cool. shared one. And when he saw that picture, he just looked at it and he said, "Wow." So
Yep.
that made me feel so good, you know. So yeah.
Definitely. Nah, that's definitely the reactions, like
And if I could say something else about that picture of Dwelle, he actually was playing the keyboards during the show, that I captured that picture in. And
right.
they pretty much moved us out of the pit because, we had taken enough pictures, no songs. And he picked up the trumpet. So as I'm walking back
Mm,
around, I captured that shot. So it's at Wolf Creek Amphitheater where that was taken. So I was glad that I was able to capture it. So.
that's nice.
Oh, that's me and Greg Nice from Nice and Smooth. And again, that's the same performance. The alumni typically consists of Chubb Rock, Kwame, um, some Greg Nice, sometimes Moni Love, and Dana Dane. So I think that's it. But so they were all there, and this is again a behind the scenes shot during the film festival. So
Okay. So this is the website, everybody, from Carolyn Grady, rhythmicimages.com.
yes.
Salt
Yeah,
and pepper.
salt and pepper. Yeah, that was actually in Charlotte during Funk Fest. Ironically
Mm,
enough, I couldn't get access to shoot the Atlanta Funk Fest performance, but
right.
a publicist was able to get me access for Charlotte, and that show was wonderful. LL Cool J performed, Outkast when they reunited, they performed, The Roots performed, War performed. It was it
Oh
was
yes.
just, oh my God, yeah.
The concert sound lit.
It was. Oh, that's my picture of Lauren Hill during One Music Fest swinging.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Nice.
Fantasia, that was in Charlotte as well, Funk Fest.
Hmm. I think that's the last one.
Okay, okay. Well, thank you for sharing those.
Definitely. Like I said, I feel like photography and music is hand in hand, it's like what would you do without, music in a way, and what
Right,
would you do without, like, you can't, it's like life without, you really can't just, it don't seem right.
right. That's true.
um but definitely had to bring you on here. It was definitely an honor to give you your flowers, Miss Grady.
Well, I appreciate the invite and having the opportunity to share my work and some of the stories that I have over the years. I do appreciate the opportunity.
Yeah, that's definitely important. We try to push, to promote the excellence of our people. No work goes unnoticed, and by the look of your resume and your accolades, it's definitely a lot of hard work, put in. And also just another kind of tip for the photographers, I want to ask you so when it comes to them getting access to, being at certain venues or capturing these moments, like um on what level would they have to network, to make those things accessible for them?
Well, I would say definitely you should have a body of work to reflect that that's something that you can do because you want them, because sometimes they actually do look at your website or your social media to see if you are who you say you are.
Right.
I've reached out to, like I said, promoters, Live Nation, for instance. I've reached out to the venues themselves, and they can kind of put you in contact with who you should reach out to. And I've reached out to the artists directly sometimes. And I've been
Right.
able to gain access. Like I reached out to um, member of the a Public Enemy, as a matter of fact, and they were able to help me gain access to shoot one of their concerts a few years ago. But that was pretty, pretty cool situation. I would say, and also if you can have a media affiliate that you're shooting
Right.
for, like I said, you have to be able to show and prove. You can't just yeah, because you don't want to have them, have decline your request or whatever.
Right.
But if you can network with a media affiliate, let's say a someone who can vouch for you, so to speak, then that's a good thing to have also. And that's pretty much, I would say, it. But
Right.
and definitely one other tip I would give is do it in advance. Don't wait until the day
Hmm.
before. Don't, because sometimes they need at least 2 weeks to be able to work through the system and make it happen.
That sounds good. So definitely, last but not least, Miss Carolyn, being that you're on the Underdogs podcast right now, what does the word underdog mean to you when you hear the word in general? Just like what does it mean when you hear like when somebody's being an underdog?
I mean, what it makes me feel or think of is this person is not expected to win.
Mhm.
This person has a lot of things going against them. I could say, as a woman, a female photographer, there have been situations, to be honest, where I felt that way, where I was treated a certain way, unfortunately. But the way I look at it is, that's something that you need to deal with, the person who's bringing that certain energy. But I feel like my work is proof in the pudding, because I feel like I show and prove. Like, yeah. And not necessarily going to go into any situations, but I just feel like, I'm meant to be here. I deserve to be here. And let me show you why.
Right. Definitely here on the Underdogs podcast, season 3, episode 16. This is Behind the Lens with Miss Carolyn Grady. Make sure you guys head over to our website at rhythmicimages.com. And yeah, Miss Grady, definitely appreciate you. This was an honor to have you on this platform.
Thank
Um
you.
just look forward to many more bigger things to come from Rhythmic Images.
Thank you. I appreciate the opportunity.